Deoxyribonucleic acid, otherwise known as DNA, is the building block of all life on Earth, determining everything from hair and eye color to congenital diseases. And if you get in there and start messing with someone's DNA, they'll die because you have no idea what you're doing. But video games are not subject to such things as the laws of nature, which means you can find games like Pokemon Fusion's Infinite, a fan game with a new story, a new questing system, and a new mechanic that allows you to manipulate the DNA of your Pokepals and fuse them into horrific abominations. So, if you're having trouble deciding if Squirtle or Pikachu is your favorite Pokemon, you can worry no more as you splice them together into your very own Squirtchu. Or P-Squirt. So I will be playing this game today and creating my own horrid abominations to unleash upon the world. As well as, what's this? This game is not meant to be Nuzlocked. Well, I know what the challenge is going to be for the day. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how Nuzlocke works, it's actually pretty simple. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in an area, you have to nickname it so you become emotionally attached to it, and if it faints, it dies and can never be used again. But because I want to utilize the fusion mechanic in this game, I'm adding 2 more rules. First, I can only catch the first non-fused Pokemon I encounter in an area, which means that even if I come across a completely broken combo in the wild as my first encounter, I cannot catch it and have to keep looking until I find something that isn't an affront to God. And then make it one. Because my second rule is all non-fused Pokemon that I catch must immediately be fused with the next available non-fused Pokemon. So the first Pokemon I catch will be fused with the second, the third with the fourth, you get the picture. If anyone did the math during my explanation, you'll realize that this means I'm cutting the number of potential Pokemon by half, meaning I won't have much in the way of death fodder throughout the game, adding that just little bit more difficulty. So now that you understand the challenge, let's get started. I started my day like any other, receiving my license to join the Pokemon League, getting my very own Digimon, and watching my friend commit crimes against nature right in front of me. Oh, that is adorable. However, this run did not last long. I've only done one Nuzlocke in the past in Shining Pearl and never actually finished it, so I decided to look up some guy on YouTube for a little advice.
I'm probably the best Nuzlocker in the world. I usually advocate for your runs to always pick the fire type because fire types are pretty rare and pretty useful.
And Brock, the first gym leader, had fused his Geodude with a Pidgey, making it immune to the only ground type move that my Pokemon knew and wiping me out in about 3 turns. Thanks, Jan.
Yeah, so what happened there is he got owned.
I started my day like any other, receiving my license to join the Pokemon League, getting my very own houseplant, and stomping my friend's new turtle lizard into the dirt. After playing delivery boy for Professor Oak, he gives me a Pokedex, a DNA splicer, and some Pokeballs, and now the challenge begins. Outside my hometown, I caught a Rattata, which I fused with my Bulbasaur to create a Ratasaur named Succulent. I caught a female Nidoran on Route 2, and some guy in the shop gave me a Pukumuku? Okay, which I fused into a Pukeran, which I named Fisticuffs. Okay, that looks interesting. I caught a Hoot in the Viridian Forest and a Pidgey on Route 2, which I thought would turn into a Hootie, so I named it Blowfish, but is actually a Pidgeot. Oh my god. But he looked like a Blowfish, so I kept the name. Succulent mopped the floor with Brock's team without any trouble, and we were on our way through Route 3 to Mount Moon, picking up a male Nidoran and buying a Magikarp off this weird guy selling fish in the Poke Center to combine into a Nidocarp I called Spike. With a Y, because he's cool. My team and I made our way through Mount Moon, which was infested with Team Rocket grunts, catching a Zubat along the way. Team Rocket forces a paleontologist to fight me under the threat of death while they try to use the power of Moonstones to power their triple fusion machine, which, reading back that script, sounds like the final act of an Austin Powers movie. Things go wrong, Team Rocket escapes, and I pick up the dome fossil for later. Making my way to Cerulean City, I caught a Spearow and mashed it together with my Zubat to create a Spearbat named Pecky. Why is that so funny to me? Misty's gym was no problem with Succulent on her side. But I was very unprepared for the rival fight on Nugget Bridge. Hello there, Sprackadoo. But we made it out without any casualties. Only for Spike to die to a level 10 Georast from the first trainer on Nugget Bridge. Spike! I caught a Weedle on the opposite side of Nugget Bridge, and after burying Spike in the PC, I made my way to Viridian City, catching a Meowth on Route 5. And after a quick fusion between it and the now Beedrill, I had a Beef named Bubsy. That doesn't look half bad. I was expecting far worse. Heading to Vermilion City, I evolved Blowfish. What is that? What is that? What is that? It's horrific! Fisticuffs. It got worse. And finally, Pecky. I tried to board the SSN but got turned away at the gate. I had gotten distracted after crossing Nugget Bridge by my dog desperately needing a walk and forgotten to grab the boarding pass from Bill, but a quick trek back up north to grab the ticket fixed that. After killing a bunch of rich people's pets, fighting my rival, and rubbing an old man until he felt good, I obtained the HM cut, which I could use to access the local gym and take on Lieutenant Surge, which I elected not to do at this time because the majority of my team was weak to electric types and I would have been stomped if I tried. I did try to catch a Diglett in Diglett Cave in order to fix this problem, but crit one-shot it by accident. Instead, I elected to head down Rock Tunnel and go to Lavender Town. This was a huge mistake. I caught and fused a Venonat and Voltorb into a Voltnat that I could use as a flashlight in the darkness. However, I had completely forgotten how big this cave was and how many trainers lurked in the dark to jump out and attack me. I went into Rock Tunnel with minimal supplies and no escape ropes, and came out the other end with 2 dead Pokemon and in a panic from the beating that I had just taken. I really had no idea how to build a coherent team at this point. Most of my Pokemon had become poison, flying, or both thanks to their fusions, which was starting to become an Achilles heel considering the amount of trainers that I had been encountering with Pokemon who knew both rock and ground type moves. This was compounded by the fact that I had lost Fisticuffs, who had become the de facto backbone of my team thanks to her tanky stats that could take on even super effective criticals, her poison point ability that poisons an enemy if they touch her, and her Venoshock attack that increases in power if the enemy is poisoned. Even if I encountered something that I couldn't directly counter, she could tank a hit and whittle down the enemy's health with poison as I heal stalled until they died. Unfortunately, my short-sightedness meant that I had run out of potions a few fights ago, and thanks to an unlucky timing on Paralysis and a lucky hit on Bullet Seed, she was dead and I was left to try and scavenge a suitable team to continue my journey. Good night, my queen. You will be missed. Using a Geodude and a Honedge, I made a knockoff Sword in the Stone, and after being given an egg from a random guy in the Pokemon Center which hatched into a Wynot, I disrespected the dead by fighting my friend in a graveyard before we both witnessed Team Rocket kidnap the inventor of the Master Ball, Mr. Fuji. All in all, a very eventful 10 minutes. The ghosts in the tower were too scary for me to give chase, so I left the old man to be tortured by a violent gang and instead went to the casino, where I found nothing of interest. I gave some ladies Eevee a walk, and then she just gave it to me. You know? Walk my dog? I don't want it. You take it, kid. What a responsible pet owner. I took her precious dog and tried to fuse it with Wobbuffet, but it didn't work for some reason. Can I not fuse Eevee with Wobbuffet? I keep getting some kind of error. So Eevee was spared from becoming a freak of nature. For now. Turns out that Team Rocket has moved their hideout into the sewers under Celadon City these days, where I caught a Grimer, which I fused with Wobbuffet to make a Gribbefet named Punching Bag. Oh, it's so cursed. It's so cursed. With the help of the local gym leader, Erica, we cleared out the grunts and made our way to the lab where Giovanni waited for us. After a pretty rough fight, Giovanni fled, taking Team Rocket with him, and leaving behind the Sylph Scope, giving me the scientific power to fight ghosts. I climbed Lavender Tower once again, performing exorcisms as I ascended, and catching a Ghastly before finally reaching Mount Fuji? Okay, bye-bye then. And catching a Ghastly before finally reaching Mr. Fuji, who was fine it turns out. Team Rocket didn't do anything to him, they just took the blueprints for the Master Ball and left. After fusing Eevee and Ghastly into a Gatsby, I don't like. I don't like. The collar is cool and all, but the face is something to be desired. And a freshly caught Pikachu and Snubbull into a Pikaball. I think I've seen a dog like that. I headed back to Celadon to challenge Erica, who is honestly no challenge with my overabundance of poison and flying type Pokemon. By the way, at this point you may notice that some of my Pokemon are starting to look a bit over-leveled, and there's a bit of a reason for that. You see, at the beginning of the game you can select your difficulty. Hard mode changes the AI to more like that of the fan game Emerald Kaizo. Normal mode is your basic Pokemon Fire Red experience, and easy mode gives all your Pokemon XP after every battle, similar to modern Pokemon games. And because I wanted to get this video done in a reasonable amount of time, and I don't know how to spawn rare candies, and had no desire to spend my time fighting level 5 Rattatas to grind XP, I opted to go with easy mode, which caused some of my Pokemon to level a little faster than I had anticipated. However, this actually has less of an impact than you'd think. Because this is a fan game, it has a distinct lack of that Nintendo polish. And because of that, the balance in this game is next to non-existent. It wasn't uncommon to wander into a new route and be fighting level 20 creatures in the grass, the majority of trainers to have teams of level 30s, and then some random guy in the route would have a stacked team of level 45s. Honestly, the gym leader and rival fights were easier than most of the trainers I fought. I rudely woke up and then caught the Snorlax blocking Route 12 and headed south, catching Horsey on Route 13 to fuse with it later and battling my way through an onslaught of trainers. Unfortunately, losing Cursey in the process, because I had forgotten he was Rock Steel type now, not Rock Ghost. Oh no. Oh no! Oh no! You dick! I love that Pokemon! Cursey, no! Honestly, the hardest part of this whole game is keeping track of the fusion typing. There's a math to it that you can figure out if you keep track of the order of the original Pokemon's typing and which Pokemon is now the head and which is the body, but after memorizing the periodic table of elements in sophomore chemistry class, I vowed never to memorize anything again, and this is the first time it's come to bite me in the backside since then, so I've had a good run until now. I doubled back to regroup, because I've been training up Cursey to make up for some of my team's weaknesses of having no hard counters to fire or electricity, but with him dead, I guess my new Horlax would have to do for those. Against my better judgment, I decided to finally take on Lieutenant Surge while I was in town. I hadn't needed to worry about him. Exiting the gym, the scientists I had rescued back on Mount Move delivered the news that the fossil revival machine at the museum was now working. I took the fossils that I'd been gathering from scientists who wanted to pick fights with me and revived Kabuto and Shieldon, which I fused into a Kabodon named Shelby, and revived Laleep, which would live in my PC until I caught something to fuse with it. I made my way back to Route 13, unfortunately losing Noodle in a freak bird person accident. No! Hi, editing me here. I just realized that I forgot to include Noodle in the script. Noodle is a Ekans and Oddish that I caught and fused together before I hit Vermilion City and had been part of my team for a very long point in time at this point. But I'm not going back and redoing the script because that would be a pain in my butt. So you're all caught up to speed now. So back to the video. Losing Noodle was definitely a blow, because I had been saving a Sunstone for when she reached level 44 and learned Petal Dance. However, while writing this script and doing some research, it turns out that she still would have learned Petal Dance regardless of whether or not she had evolved into her Blossom form. I'd just been so brainwashed that Stone Evolution Pokemon have terrible level up movesets.
It's a Stone Evolution, and Stone Evolutions traditionally have really, really bad learn sets.
That I was hesitant to evolve her. Thanks, Jan.
Your boy. Pokemon Challenge.
While it's no guarantee that this would have saved her, the plus 25 defense she would have gotten from evolving would have at least given her a better chance. I'm sorry, Noodle. I failed you. Replacing Noodle would be Lockjaw the Lynch, my Laleep, who is now fused with a Trampinch that I'd caught in the Safari Zone. This was, I thought, a huge get, because at this point I was starting to plan my Elite Four team, and Lance was one of my biggest worries. His dragons had always been my Achilles heel in this game, and now they were going to be fused with who knows what, and I was starting to become anxious about it. At this point, I had no fairy types save for Sprocket, my Granbull Pikachu combo, and my only ice type, my Haunter Glaceon combo, was proving to be a slow glass cannon. Fluffy may potentially be able to one-shot Lance's dragons with a few ice beams, but with her slow speed and tiny hit pool, relying on things like X-Speed or an RNG item like Quick Claw wasn't a great idea in my opinion. It was also about here where I realized that I had not exactly been playing this Nuzlocke exactly up to code. I had to look up how people treat the Safari Zone, and most agree that you only get one try to catch as many Pokemon as you can, but once you're done, you can only choose one of those to keep and release the rest. And here is where I learned that most people also treat every floor of a zone as a different area. So floor 1 and floor 2 of Rock Tunnel would have given me separate encounters and therefore would have given me more chances for more Pokemon. I've been treating all these as single encounters. So Rock Tunnel I only caught one Pokemon, Lavender Tower I only caught one Pokemon, Mount Moon I only caught one Pokemon, etc, etc, etc. However, there were so many people giving away or selling Pokemon in the streets that I was happily taking up their hands that it basically balanced out. I decided to continue on with the way I had been playing. After all, what's more important? A strict and restrictive set of rules that everyone must obey equally, or a rule set based on your individual experience and what you want to get out of it which maintains the spirit of the challenge? While I was nearby, I decided to take on Koga. I went in pretty confident because the majority of my Pokemon at this point were poison type and therefore immune to his toxic. However, this changed when he sent out his best Pokemon. This is Chinook, a bastardization of Chansey and Muck. This pile of pink goo has the loadout of Acid Armor, Double Team, Toxic, and Takedown, and is holding Black Sludge, an item that heals poison-type Pokemon. Because he couldn't poison me, he could only deal damage with Takedown. But between Leftovers, my own Black Sludge, and Chinook being leech-seeded, I would end up full health after every turn. So it went a little something like this. I would attack, and probably miss, and if I did, it did next to no damage. Chinook would use Takedown and deal a bit of damage, and take a little bit of damage, then we would both heal to full health, or I would use a potion if that wasn't enough, or Koga would use a potion if it wasn't enough. This went on for so long that we both ended up with our Pokemon using struggle, and neither of us making any progress. After 40 minutes of that nonsense, I called it quits and reloaded the save. Was it cheating? Maybe, but I wasn't going to keep playing until I got lucky. You want to know how lucky I would have had to be to make this torture end? Between the high defense, the increased evasiveness, and the odds of landing what I was going to guess would be at least 10 critical hits of struggle in a row to do enough damage to kill this Jiggly affront to God, my rough calculations put me somewhere in the ballpark of 1 in 1.3 trillion. If I sat here just pressing the E key from now until the day I die, I still would most likely never see the end of this fight. Resetting the save was the only way out of this. After fighting Koga with a much more aggressive strategy this time and handily beating him, Lance bursts in to tell Koga that Team Rocket is creating Master Balls and is capturing the 3 legendary birds Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and needs the help of some random teenager to stop them. I agreed to meet him in the Saffron City and went to the Pokemon Center to heal up, only to be stopped by my rival for a quick fight in the hospital parking lot. I beat him, he gives me a Cyndaquil as a reward, which I fused with a Bellsprout into a Cindasprout named Poke. Again, I'm becoming a poison person. Okay, that's pretty adorable. Let me tell you, it's been a busy day already, and it's only going to get busier. I fought a bunch of martial artists for a Hitmontop and fused it with a Miltank that I caught on my way to the city, creating a Hitmontank named Mama. Team Rocket has taken over the entirety of Saffron City. However, they proved to be no match for a teenager who has just gotten his first Pokemon less than 10 hours ago. Lance meets me at Self-Co headquarters where they've set up shop and has me rescue workers while he goes on ahead. Catching up with Lance, he tells me we need to take down Giovanni together, but immediately starts getting double-teamed by 2 dudes in the corner. Giovanni ignores the commotion and demands his scientist prisoner fuse all 3 birds together at once, creating the horrifying Zap Multicuno. After a quick fight, most of which is me trying to figure out what exactly the typing of this creature is, which I still don't know, the unstable fusion rips itself apart and the birds flee to the far corners of the world. Giovanni escapes, and I exit the building to find my rival, who is upset that he missed the party, but hands me a random Lapras. I swear, this guy is the most tsundere person I have ever seen. I hate you! Fight me!
Here, I caught this Pokemon for you.
This guy needs a good therapist. I caught a Rotom, who is haunting a nearby television, and behold, Sparks the Rores was born. Now that gang violence had forever been solved in the city, the gym was now open and I headed inside to take on Sabrina. She was really no problem. Her psychic Pokemon were no match for the fact that 1/3 of my team knew Crunch, except for one small flaw in my plan. For whatever reason, I was under the assumption that Future Sight hits after 3 turns, not 2, and Succulent went down. No, oh, god damn it. I'm sorry, Succulent. You died because I can't count. I next made my way to Cinnabar Island, catching a Kecleon and a Shelder, and creating a Kector along the way. And after tracking down the local gym leader Blaine in the Burn Mansion and telling him to do his freaking job, we went to the gym to fight an old man. Alright, I just have to point out right here that one of the trainers in this gym has what I think is my favorite fusion. A Dugtrio fused with a Dugtrio. It's glorious. Blaine was absolutely no trouble with all my ground-type moves at my disposal. I do have to point out his 9-9 though. I love this sprite. And afterward, I chased Team Rocket to the Seaphone Islands, where they were trying to recapture Articuno. I kick them in the teeth, catch Articuno myself, and leave the caves where I'm greeted by the scientist who originally warned me of Team Rocket's plans to refuse the birds. He says that Giovanni has fled to the Johto region and gives me a train pass in order to chase him down. On my way to the train station, I caught a Tangela and a Coughing that merged into a Tanfing, which reminded me of that one comic I read that one time.
Oh, that is an interesting design.
I tracked Giovanni down at the construction site of the new department store and took down his second in command. However, Giovanni stops us before too long and tells his executive to step down, and that he's disbanding Team Rocket and retiring to return to the peaceful life of beating up children as a gym leader. I made my way back to Viridian City to confront him for the final time. Giovanni went down, and I finally had my last gym badge. This was it, the final stretch. All that was left was to make my way up Victory Road and face the Elite Four, and I would be named the new champion of Kanto. But before that, Sprockadoo had to show off his new shiny badge collection too. After journeying through Victory Road and finding Entei,
Wait a minute, Entei? Okay, we're not gonna bother with that right now.
I finally made it, the Indigo Plateau. This was it, the final challenge. First up was Lorelei, the Ice Master. She went down without much of a challenge. Pecky was able to outspeed her Magong and take it out with 2 drill runs before I switched in Poke to take out the rest of her team. Bruno was next with his mixture of fighting and steel Pokemon, which proved to be more difficult. I baited out his full restores using Pecky's speed and drill run and switched in Poke. I had planned on using Poke for the majority of this fight, however, Bone Meringue's second hit proved to be more effective than I expected.
No!
Pecky came in again to sweep away his team. His Steel Champ tried kicking up a sandstorm, but it was all over for Bruno. His Sicross went down, and I was halfway through the Elite Four with only 1 party member out. Next was Agatha, the expert in all things ghost. I had brought along Lockjaw with its powerful crunch attack to take care of her team. However, an unexpected Destiny Bond put an end to that plan before Lockjaw even had a chance to put a dent in her team.
No! No! You dick!
Shelby came out and cleaned up the rest of her team, but not without a lot of hyper potions, and Pecky finished off her Snorgar for the win. 2 Pokemon down, and 3 Elite Four members in. It was time to face the man I was the most worried about,
Not good.
Lance. His Dragon team had always given me trouble whenever I played in a vanilla version of these games in the past, and now that Lockjaw, with his Dragon-type moves, was out of commission, I had lost my main trump card to go against him. I sent out Pecky, and using a combo of her high speed, high defense, and stall tactics, I whittled down his team. However, his Typhon Air proved to be faster than Pecky and managed to get a critical Fire Blast in before the final blow to his team. Shelby finished off the last shot, and Lance was defeated, but not without casualties. Pecky had been my best Pokemon since the second gym. With her incredible speed, high defenses, and immunity to poison, she had made for an amazing linchpin to my team, and now she was gone. Unable to help with the final challenge. Champion Sprockadoo. I took a breath and began the battle. Shelby went out early, but went down to an unexpected earthquake.
That's not good. That's not good.
Sparks was 4 times weak to ground-type moves, but he was the best choice that I had. Sparks got off a couple of shockwaves and took out Sprockadoo's Nigiot. Out came his Ripe Mortar, which was 4 times weak to my Surf. I sent out that one
That's
comic
good.
to tank some damage so I could heal Sparks, and I lost. I was so close to finishing my first real attempt at a Nuzlocke in a victory, only to have it swept away from under my feet at the final step. I could just do the content creator thing and just reset the save and keep trying until I win, and then edit out all my losses, but that wasn't the point of this challenge. I wanted to run a Nuzlocke, and I lost. That's the end of it. But you know what? I'm not upset about it. I stepped into this challenge being told by the developers that this isn't the way this game is meant to be played, and not only that, I went in totally blind with no idea of what could be lurking around the corner. And if this is how far I got with that kind of handicap, then I'm proud of myself. Alright, enough sappy stuff. Let's do the final follow-up. What did I think of this challenge? I gotta be honest. I loved and hated this challenge. but not really for the reason you might expect. Sure, I do form emotional attachments to my Pokemon and get a little sad when they die, but at the end of the day, they're just a collection of pixels put on the screen to amuse me. No, the real reason for my conflict on this challenge is the fact that not only do I like a good challenge in my games, but I also love collecting things in them too. Whether it's mounts and pets in Final Fantasy XIV, or every single weapon and armor set in Monster Hunter World, this has taken me literal years and I'm still nowhere close to done. I love the collection aspect in games, and no game is more focused on collecting than Pokemon. So while running a Nuzlocke, my challenge brain and my collector brain are constantly fighting with each other. I'll come across a rare Pokemon in the wild and my challenge brain would be like, ah yes, defeating this thing will give me 3 attack EVs and enough XP to level up and evolve. While my collector brain is like, ah, give it to me, I want it! Will I ever try a Nuzlocke again? Probably. But never again as my first blind playthrough of a game. I'll scratch my collector itch for a while and try out all the new Pokemon, and once that craving is settled, then I'll try my hand at a Nuzlocke. As far as the game itself, aside from a few balance issues that I stated earlier and some atrocious load times and freezing between some zones, it's a pretty standard Pokemon game all things considered. But what you may not realize is that I've touched less than half of what this game has to offer. There's still the entire Johto region and its gym leaders to defeat, and after you defeat them, you can face the Super Elite Four. There's the endgame area, the Sevii Islands, and the secret boss on top of Mount Silver. I knew about these challenges going into this Nuzlocke, but set my bar pretty low with just becoming champion, because trying to fit all of that into one video is a daunting task and I didn't want to take it on. Maybe another time, but not at the moment. If you want to play the game yourself, there will be a link in the description of this video. One last thing before I go. I was only able to share with you a fraction of the over 170,000 possible combinations of Pokemon within this game, many with their own custom sprites created by the community. With all of this work put into this game, I want to take the time to show you some of my favorites that I encountered on my journey.
Beefree, Houndtails, Georan, Gaster, Catanix, Qdeen, Volta, Sitoise, Sandoon, Zuby, Perton, Zuki, Mr. King, Polyhoop, Pikaran, Cawthorn. Thanks for watching, and I also want to thank YouTuber Moopston for pointing out this game to me, and Pokemon Challenges for all the information as well as being a good sport. Hit the buttons if you want, and see you next time. Butterdrill, Ellicath, Jigglybraw, Hauntish, Onbat, Mr. Sir, Venishrew, Slowder, Psyduck, Wobster, Zuna, Meowth, Igliuna, Cough Chop, Magical, Ween!